Politics is all about perception. You can shake all the hands you want, kiss every single baby, but if you don't look better than the other guy, you might as well kiss your chances goodbye. And there's no better time to prove you're the real deal than on a debate stage, where you can just show off your hair and how quick-witted you are.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
And debates are really your last chance to deliver that knockout blow.
Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Is it easier for you to go and buy things in the stores than it was 4 years ago? Is there more or less unemployment in the country than there was 4 years ago? Is America as respected throughout the world as it was?
But last night, in the Pennsylvania Senate debate, John Fetterman knocked himself out the second he opened his mouth.
Hi, good night, everybody. I'm running to serve Pennsylvania.
It only got worse from there. Fetterman's entire campaign's based on saying Dr. Oz is a carpetbagger who owns a lot of homes. And he's gotten some traction on that. But at the debate, you have to show off your policy chops. And Fetterman couldn't even spew slogans.
No, here's what I think we have to fight about inflation here right now. That's what we need to fight about, inflation. We all have to make sure that everyone that works is able to, that's the most American bargain, that if you work full-time, you should be able to live in dignity as well, true. You know, but going to those kind of vocational schools, able to create a career to Wayne, reach a lot of high salary, and again, supporting to reduce those costs are critical too.
So on the issue that matters most to Pennsylvania voters, the economy, John couldn't cut it. Fetterman had months to prepare for this debate, months. He knew Oz was going to hit him for living off of his parents and not paying taxes, but he couldn't defend himself.
He has specifically said you have not paid your taxes and that you want to raise taxes on Americans. How do you respond?
Of course, he's lying. It was helping two students 17 years ago to help them, buy their own homes. They didn't pay the bills, and it got her paid, and it has never been an issue in any of the campaign before. It was all about nonprofit.
When John Fetterman brings up houses, the irony is he didn't pay for his own house. He got it for $1 from his sister.
That's like he got his Pennsylvania house from his own inlays from $1.
Mr. Fetterman, we have to continue.
If Fetterman can't defend himself, how is he going to defend the people of Pennsylvania? All politicians flip-flop from time to time, but most of them come up with a reason why they change their position. Not Fetterman. Fetterman just lies.
I've always supported fracking, and I always believe that independence with our energy is critical.
But there is that 2018 interview that you said, quote, I don't support fracking at all. So how do you square the two?
I do support fracking, and I support fracking, and I stand and I do support fracking.
Fetterman's the worst type of politician, the kind that lying comes easy to.
Fracking, yeah, fracking. No, I don't support fracking at all, and I never have. I don't support fracking. I think it's something that has to eventually go away.
So last night was the worst debate performance in American political history, and it wasn't even close. A Snap poll showed 83% of Pennsylvania voters thought Dr. Oz won. It was so bad, CNN called it a scandal.
I mean, I thought somebody should have invoked the mercy rule about 20 minutes into the debate.
What we saw today was someone who is not ready to be in office. I found it extremely hard to watch.
I thought this was the unraveling of one of the biggest scandals going on in this midterm cycle. The covering up and the lying about the status of John Fetterman.
But like a typical liberal, Fetterman's campaign blames somebody else for his bad night. Team Fetterman is blaming closed captioning errors that they said were slow and riddled with misspellings. Remember, Fetterman can't process speech, so they actually gave him closed captioning to read what the moderators in Oz were saying. Here's an example of how it worked.
The second screen will caption the questions and responses from them at Oz. We have live, experienced captioners in studio to ensure we are as accurate as possible.
So the closed captioning company and the network put out a statement saying everything worked perfectly and that Fetterman was given the option to practice with it and chose not to. It became clear during the debate early on that Fetterman wasn't well. And the moderator asked him respectfully when he'd be releasing his medical records.
You know, I believe if my doctor believes that I'm fit to serve, and that's what I believe is appropriate. And I believe that, again, my doctors, the real doctors that I believe in, they all believe that I'm ready to be served.
Follow up, I didn't hear you say you would release your full medical records. Why not? You have 30 seconds.
No, again, my doctor all believes that I'm fit to be serving, and that's what I believe is where I'm standing.
Fetterman's doctor is a big-time Democrat donor, and he and John won't release the records. Nearly every sane person who watched that debate felt sorry for John Fetterman and felt sorry for the voters of Pennsylvania who've been deceived about his condition. Except, of course, you know, the ladies of The View.
It was really strange to me that he chose to bully a stroke victim. Yeah, right? Like, he obviously was bullying him. And, you know, I don't think the people of Pennsylvania or the people in general liked that.
Dr. Oz was the perfect gentleman during that debate. Never even brought up Fetterman's health once. He stuck to the issues the entire hour. How was that bullying? Oz let his opponent use a translation machine. He didn't have to do that. Personally, I feel bad for Fetterman. He can't function at a level required to serve in the United States Senate. And according to physicians I've talked to 6 months after a stroke, this is probably the best John Fetterman's ever going to get. And the fact that the Democratic Party hid this from the voters of Pennsylvania and continued to foist Fetterman on him when it's clear he can't listen and communicate effectively is one of the most disrespectful things I've seen in a long time. It's disrespectful to John Fetterman, and it's disrespectful to the people. And it's disrespectful to the members of the media that asked legitimate questions about the candidate's health. NBC reporter Dasha Burns, remember, was viciously attacked by Democrats and other reporters for saying Fetterman had a hard time making small talk. After seeing the debate last night, everybody knows she was right, and they owe her an apology. Barack Obama and Joe Biden are going to Pennsylvania together for the first time 3 days before the election to campaign on stage with John Fetterman. Obama and Biden are preying on poor John. He's a wounded animal who should be in therapy. And the president and the former president are trying to drag this guy into the Senate, where he's at a high risk of having a follow-up stroke, who won't be able to perform at hearings, who won't be able to hear reporters, who won't be able to hash out policy on the Senate floor. John Fetterman could perform under pressure in a debate for an hour. That level of intensity is Washington, D.C. every single day. But Democrats are taking advantage of Fetterman. He's vulnerable. He's a man-child. And it's unseemly for Democratic leaders to be pushing an unfit man who needs to be hooked up to machines into the most important legislative body in this country. It's not in John's best interests, but the Democrats don't care. They only care about what's in their best interest. They only care about having a yes man that Schumer can control. They know Fetterman would be senator in name only. His bisexual Brazilian wife, Giselle, will be in charge. Last week, we joked around about how suspicious it was that, the way Giselle kind of met and then married John, who was living with his parents at the time. We joked that she was a Brazilian fang-fang. And lo and behold, according to reports, Giselle's uncle was an intelligence officer, a Brazilian spy, a professional wiretapper. So does this bait and switch have national security implications? Yeah, the FBI probably doesn't care, but we do. This is political and medical malpractice. Hundreds of thousands of Pennsylvania voters have already voted early. John Fetterman and the Democrats already knew he wasn't up for the job, but they weren't straight with the people of Pennsylvania, and neither were Washington Democrats. This kind of blatant disrespect for the voters is exactly why the Democrats find themselves in the position they're in now, facing a massive midterm landslide.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.